So, 2020 year in review. You know, in January, we started out mostly just talking about politics. You know, there was a lot going on, national election, you know, a lot of duking it out. By March, the Fed announced that it would cut its rate. Mortgage interest rates soon followed. Various government shutdowns started to happen because of COVID, of course. And so by March, we were kind of, just trying to figure out what was happening. If you guys remember back, like everything shut down kind of for a couple of weeks. And everybody was sort of wrapping their brain around what was happening. So March was very interesting. Various government entities came in, and there were businesses that were shut down. This blows my mind still that the government can come in and actually shut down businesses. That's a political discussion for another day. Happy to have that anytime you guys want to. But it was really shocking. I think everybody was sort of, just, again, trying to wrap our brains around what was really happening. So there were a lot of employees that were laid off, and you guys remember unemployment just overnight skyrocketed. But then, kind of fast forward to June, and at least in Utah, most businesses were able to open again, even though a lot of it was under modified circumstances. You guys remember that. But the real estate market was on a trajectory that I think really surprised a lot of us. Because in March, a lot of us were just, kind of wondering if are we done for the year? Like, is everybody just going to just stop? And what happened? And the opposite happened. You remember. So that's why we are where we are, because all of a sudden the interest rates dropped. People wanted to get out of the big city. They wanted to get into a home. They wanted to get to suburban areas, more rural areas. And so people really started to look at this as a good opportunity to make that move. We saw, again, a shift in demand towards suburban and rural areas, more emphasis on home offices, more emphasis on outdoor space. If we're going to have to stay at home, you want to have a place where you can work, you want to have a place where you can go outside. So that really shifted priorities for a number of buyers. That was really quite interesting to watch. And now here we are in December, the last week of 2020. Some of us got to see family for Christmas, some of us didn't. Some folks have been extremely impacted by the coronavirus, and some folks not so much. It's just been such a wide-ranging response to this, to the COVID. The real estate market has slowed just a bit, mostly because of the lack of inventory. We've still got buyers out there wanting to purchase, but if there's nothing available, then it's hard to get those transactions done. But I do think that that's going to change after the first of the year, at least I hope so. Okay, what's ahead in 2021? So here are my crystal ball predictions. We are going to continue to see a hot market. I really believe that. In the first few months of the year, I think we're going to have to build that inventory level. I don't think it's going to just turn overnight. But inventory, although I think that it will increase, I do think it's still going to continue to lag behind demand. That's just historically what we've been dealing with. Hopefully we'll get enough building projects and enough sellers that are ready to kind of make that move that we'll be able to kind of make up some of that inventory problem. Once inventory levels are starting to catch up to demand just a little bit, I think we will continue to see rising prices. I think we'll continue to see rising demand. There are people out there who are talking about maybe a correction, maybe a recession. It could happen, but I will tell you, if we do see a correction, which is possible, it's not going to be like 08 and 09. Our economy is so much stronger right now. People have trillions of dollars of equity in their home. We've talked about that. So even if there is a correction, I don't see it being devastating like it was 10, 12 years ago. So knock on wood, we hope that we get to keep on this great trajectory that we're on. And one thing that I think is continuing to drive the demand in our real estate market is a lot of our millennial population is aging into being homeowners. They're at a point in their life where they want to purchase a home. And even Gen Z is not far behind them. So, the older millennials are now into their late 30s and slightly early 40s. So we're even looking at Gen Z right now. Some of those guys are in their 20s. So you can see there's sort of this new bubble moving through the housing market, moving through the economy, that's creating a lot of that demand. And I don't see that going away. And I think along with the desire for folks to be in more rural areas, more suburban areas, we are going to keep that demand pressure on our real estate market here locally. Now, regarding the broader economy, I think Utah will continue to fare better than other states. Historically, we've been very business friendly, very proactive in creating an environment that is good for businesses, good for jobs, and good for the state economy. So as our unemployment numbers continue to be historically low, and even though across the country unemployment numbers have come down, Utah is really on the cutting edge of that. So there's talk about possibly a double dip recession. If it does happen, I don't think it's going to hit Utah as hard as it does other states, just because our underlying economy is really pretty solid. I think 2021 is going to be great. I think that a lot of people are so over 2020 and ready to move on. I wish you the best in 2021. I think it's just so full of opportunity. There's an excitement in the air. People are kind of ready to turn that page. And I'm really looking forward to spending 2021 with you. If I can be a resource, please reach out. Let me know how I can help. I am Jenny Hendricks at Century 21 Prestige Realty, and best wishes for you and yours in 2021. We'll see you soon.